little bit the interaction between some of these statutory provisions and just the concept of how equity, which is what latches is, how that should interact with some of these statutory provisions that say, for example, if you don't comply with this, you can't count the votes. Help us think through that, the relationship between those.
Well, Justice Hagedorn, the relationship is that one must begin with the concept that's established in Wisconsin statute and longstanding precedent of this court that there's a presumption the vote and intent of the voter will be counted. And that
all right. Wikipedia, latches equity. In common law legal systems, latches, from Old French lacheser, is a lack of diligence and activity in making a legal claim or moving forward with legal enforcement of right, particularly in regard to equity. This means that it is an unreasonable delay that can be viewed as prejudicing the opposing party. When asserted in litigation, it is an equity defense, that is, a defense to a claim for an equitable remedy. The person invoking latches, which would be either the judge or Biden's party, is asserting that Trump has slept on his rights, and that as a result of the delay, circumstances have changed. Witnesses or evidence may have been lost or no longer available, etc., such that it is no longer a just resolution to grant the plaintiff's claim. Latches is associated from the maximum equity. Equity aids the vigilant, not the sleeping ones. Oh, dear sleepy Joe Biden. Who sleep on their rights. Put another way, failure to assert one's rights in a timely manner can result in a claim being barred by latches. So latches is actually common law. So we're going to go ahead. Just wanted you to see this here. Where's the set here? Do, do, do. Do, 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 do. Oh yeah, it's way up here at the top. Yeah, here we go. Common law, sorry. So let's hear what he has to say for just a more second.
that is the starting point. And so when one looks at claims that a clerk or the WEC may have erred in the guidance they issued or in how they administered the election, it's important to recognize the voters' reliance on public officials, on public statements about what the law is, and to protect the voters' reliance. And so that's the first equitable point that I would make as you consider these issues, that you have to really look from the perspective of the voter and protect that reliance. I won't get...
Okay, but I really wish that we could definitely rely on your legal guidance to us common folk citizens, like you just stated. I really wish that that was true. However, it's not, because you stated that it's a statute. However, common law, also known as judicial precedent or judge-made law or case law, is the body of law created by judges and similar quasi-judicial tribunals by virtue of being stated in written opinions. The defining characteristic of common law is that it arises as precedent in cases where the parties disagree on what the law is. So because they disagree on the obvious Constitution that was laid out, like the original Constitution laid out, there's no questioning what the law is when it's laid in front of you, buddy. Because it says right here, the defining characteristic of a common law is that it arises as precedent in cases where parties disagree on what the law is. So because they don't agree, because the judge doesn't agree with this person, even though it's in front of him laid out there and he should know the law, a common law court looks to past precedential decisions of relevant courts, the synthesis, the principle of those past cases as applicable to the current facts. If a similar dispute has been resolved in the past, the court is usually bound to follow the reasoning used in prior decisions. If, however, a court finds that a current dispute is fundamentally distinct from all previous cases, called matter of first impression, and legislative statutes are either silent or ambiguous on the question, judges have the authority and duty to resolve the issue. So, I mean, there's so many people involved with this whole thing. There's no way that he's the only one that has to make this decision. There's no way that this is the first time that this has ever come up, because we know all the different scams. I mean, look at the 2016 election, and they were claiming all that, and they've been doing the investigation and the Russia and bullshit. This is not new. The guy that was filing the lawsuit actually was showing him the case records, and he didn't want to see it. This is why. Because judges have the authority and duty to resolve the issue. One party or the other has to win. And on disagreements of law, judges make that decision. This is not a decision of law. This is on the presidential election. This is on the suppression of people as like townsfolk, or the punitive, like we're the little workers for these rich fuckers. That's all we are. Is their little slave units, the lower steps on the stepladder. And they do not think that we deserve what we gave them. They want to keep what they've got, I guess. They don't believe that they're working for us, or for anybody else for that matter. They think they are in charge of us. They think they make the rules. They think that they can bend the rules however they want. And you know, up to this point, they have. I bet you, if you're watching this video, you don't know, or that you probably know somebody in your life, or at least a friend of a friend that you know directly, that has had some kind of wrongdoing or corrupt business, at least to their attestment of it, in the judicial system themselves. There's no way that, I mean, everybody in this country, I almost bet you about 90% of people in this country know somebody, or know somebody that knows somebody directly that has been corrupted by or not corrupted, but, you know, had corrupt things done to their legal process by either judges, or just the fact that judges are like, oh, well, these guys have better evidence than you do, so sorry, even though their evidence isn't better. It's just because they're buddies and they go play golf together. I cannot believe this is so blatant, and you know, this is allowed. This is allowed on Facebook and YouTube, but not things that are actually information with credible FBI documentation being labeled as misinformation by people that would rather spend 2 hours doing their makeup to do a Zoom meeting than actually spend that 2 hours to look up the information they claim to know. Just so that way they don't look like an idiot. You know, or maybe possibly face, you know, legal, you know, precedents later on by us, the people, when we go angry mobbing to the White House and say, go ahead and try to take it from us, because there's more of us than there are of you, little judge man. Try to come and put Biden in here, and you'll see that the 3/4 of the country that wanted him not to be there, and the rest of the world that wanted to sneak their way in, it's just not going to happen. So, to continue. Sorry.
A few quotes from the cases, but we have plenty of cases in our briefs that talk about that really important concept.
Right there, he admitted that they've had plenty of cases in the past that refer to this judgment, which therefore, as it says here, if a similar dispute has been resolved in the past, the court is usually bound to follow the reasoning used in prior decisions. If, however, the court finds that the current dispute is fundamentally distinct, which it is not, because he just says that there's a bunch of other court cases, that it is fundamentally distinct from the previous cases, then the legislative statutes are either silent or ambiguous, which they're not. But if that they were, judges have the authority. That's the only time they have the authority, is if there's no other example of a case that's similar, and he just says that there was. He says he's got a stacked pile of previous cases that refer to the reason why he's going to use this common law move. It's bull. Listen to this guy.
And by the way, it's anchored also in due process. To change the guidance, to change the rules after the election, and to disenfranchise voters in that circumstance is fundamentally unfair and therefore hooks into substantive due.
Yeah, you're definitely changing the rules, you're changing the regulations because you're doing the opposite of what Latches is for, so thereby you're changing the application of Latches. You're right, it is unfair to us that you're doing that to us, sir. You should be fired. And in fact, you should be put in jail.
Process and substantive due process violations. The second point, Justice Hagedorn, I would make in response to your question is, I just gave you an answer that was from the perspective of the voter.
Okay, we just listened to 2 sentences there that made absolutely no sense at all.
But I think when you think of equities, you must also look from the perspective of the challenger. And that's when we get into the issues of latches and estoppel.
You're right. Let's look into the issues of, the person that's bringing up the challenger, so to speak, the President-elect Joe Biden, who is under Federal Bureau investigative process right now, who also has a lot of legal fuckery. Just really bad dude. Let's look at that challenger. You're right. Because Trump has done great things. Biden, I mean, he got an award from Obama once. He forgets names. He's creepy with women. His son and his brother do scandalous business deals. And look at Bobulinski. Look at Bobulinski. I mean, Jesus.
And the question of when President Trump benefited from these very procedures he's challenging now in 2016 for the election and the recount.
Boom, right there. He just admitted it. The case that was example of this similar case would be the one from 2016. So this is not a unique case. This is not a case that doesn't have any similarity to it to another case, whereas they would have to issue latches. They're breaking the law.
And he didn't do anything before this election until he saw that he had lost.
Now, if he would have said that somebody was going to commit fraud before the election, which he did you guys pay attention? It's just that, when somebody says somebody's going to do something, that's presumptive. That's not actually something that's happened. So what are you saying? That after something's happened, that means that it hasn't happened? I am so fucking confused right now, dude. So he should have done it before, which he did, and you guys didn't listen. But you're saying that that's when he should have done it, but he did do it, and you guys didn't care. But now that it's happened, you're like, oh, well, it's already passed, and it's too late because he didn't do it. But he did! You guys are not pulling anybody's fucking strings at all, guys. You guys are stupid. Do you hear yourself? Do you even watch yourself after you do these stupid Zoom meetings? Do you? I mean, go to your first grader granddaughter's school or something for a week, dude, and learn how to communicate with people. Learn how to use your lips and make them match your brain. You should not be a judge. I'm not even a lawyer. All I did was make sure I looked up the USA.gov website, backed it up with literature from Wikipedia, make it a little easier to translate, a little bit more layman's terms, because we're laymen. All right? I hope you hear this, dude. I really do. I hope at some point you hear this video and you just hate me. I really hope you hate me to the fullest extent.
And then came forward and challenged them. The prejudice to the voters who relied on the state of the law is severe. It's if this remedy is accepted, it's outright disenfranchisement. And under basic principles of estoppel, latches, unclean hands, that affords protection for the voter. So,
dude, your hands are so unclean, it is not even funny. I want to talk about, if anybody needs or any more information, if you want me to find out some more information, this is what this is. This is ridiculous. If we don't start to see the light here soon, we're all gonna die. I mean, China's definitely got the worst record of like bombing things they want to take over. They're gonna bomb us and kill us all so they can have our land, so they can raise cattle, so they don't starve to death, because they've done that there and they ruined all the resources. I mean, come on, dude. Like, China is the worst country to have influencing us right now. And listen to the guy. The guy sounds like he's straight up, like he was written a script by somebody from China in the CCP. I mean, the guy, it's broken English. He doesn't even, for a judge, he's making absolutely no sense. Either that or he had a stroke yesterday. I mean, seriously, and I don't see his face drooping, so I really don't think that he had a stroke. I think that he doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about, and somebody from China wrote that down for him as a response, just like with Sleepy Joe Biden. This cannot stand. I am a public servant. This is not misinformation. This is public information. This is part of the legal statutes. You can look them up on USA.gov. I am not a lawyer. This is not, as a disclaimer, this is not any kind of guidance or recommendation or reference to a personal case or subject or issue you might be having. I am just a person doing what everybody should be doing. Their due diligence. I don't need this shit to hit my door, knocking with a gun in my face or a bomb in my house or kids getting murdered next door. I don't need that before I act. I want to act now. I don't want to wait until somebody gets hurt. There's no need for that. Go away. Hope you guys have a great day.